everybody, I'm back here with a Astro Basics video, and I'm going to talk about the sign of Virgo. So Virgo is the sixth sign in the order of the zodiac. It is represented by the symbol of the Virgin or the young lady. Virgos are traditionally known for being quite picky and critical and very, very organized. Now, the picky and critical and perfectionist thing I think is a little bit it's overdone. And I'm sure there are Virgos that are picky and critical, but I think that is like way over exaggerated about Virgos. Virgos are very organized, but that doesn't always mean they're neat. I've known Virgos who are very, very messy. It really depends where your sun is in your chart. Wherever it is, that's the area that you're very organized and detailed, meticulous about. And I think that's what's misunderstood about Virgos, is that they're very detail oriented. They want things done right. They really believe, you know, if you want a job done right, you got to do it yourself. Because if somebody helps them, they tend to be like, no, that's not the way I like it. I like it done like this. So sometimes that's a downside of Virgo, where they have to learn to let go a bit and let someone else help them. But they're very organized. They're very meticulous. They're particular about certain things, but not about everything. Everyone's different. And they also are very analytical about things. They step back and they really analyze it. And they can sometimes miss the forest for the trees because they're so focused on the trees that they miss the big picture, and that's one of their challenges for sure. Virgos are also all about service. They like to serve something bigger than themselves, and whether that's a community or an idea or a cause, Virgos are very much about service, like how can I serve things. Virgo rules the sixth house, which is about jobs and service, also about pets. A lot of Virgos do like animals. So it's very much about service to others. Or service to a larger idea. So they rule the sixth house. Virgo is also associated with the card, the Hermit in the tarot, which shows that they light their own way. They don't worry about other people's approval. They do what they need to do. They're perfectly happy doing things for themselves. And it's not that they don't like relationships, it's just that they do things for themselves, and they do things in their own particular way. The Hermit card is the ninth card in the sign of, or in the order of the tarot, and 9 is very much a numerological number that's about spiritual service. So again, that leads back to the Virgo type. So let's go through the radiant of the Oracle Sun for the different planets in the sign of Virgo. So Sun in Virgo, here it has endurance. And this is interesting because this makes me think of the Strength card, which is the card that symbolizes Leo. But here they're using that for Virgo. Now, I do like the idea of endurance and strength for Virgo, in that Virgo has the ability to be in for the long haul. It's ruled by the planet Mercury, which also rules Gemini. But unlike Gemini, who's more about like short-term things and doing lots of things, Virgo's more about like being particularly focused on things, and it can be focused on things for the long haul. Now this makes it also somewhat stubborn, but it's nowhere near stubborn as Taurus is. It's a earth sign for sure, but it's a mutable earth sign. Mutable signs are at the end of a season, and they are much more go with the flow. So this is the most easygoing, go with the flow of the earth signs is Virgo. They can change things if they need to, but they are looking at the long-term goal. They're very much a sign that endures things. Moon in Virgo, we have order. Virgos like order. So even though things may look messy, they have an order to the way they do things, and they don't like it when somebody messes up their order, the way that they organize things. Virgos are all about organization. They're very particular about things. Like I said, not about everything. It depends how much Virgo you have in your chart and where it is. But they do like an order to things. They do like to be organized. They do have particular tastes about how things they think should be done. Mercury in Virgo, we have caution. So Mercury in Virgo is, when Virgos communicate, they're not the kind of sign that just blurts things out. They're not the kind of sign that just like exaggerates or just says anything. They're very cautious about the way that they communicate. And here you have, like, on one half you have this sort of like warrior type queen, and then you have all these animals over here. And so they're very cautious about what people say to them. They analyze what people say to them and really think about it. It's almost like they're trying to put order to all these wild animals, like all these different thoughts and the messages from the outside world. But they're very controlled and cautious about what they say. They're very particular about it. They choose their words carefully, and so that they can emphasize things. The dark side, I think, is that sometimes they can be a bit sarcastic, or they can they choose their words so carefully as to like insult people without really sort of saying it in a roundabout way, where people don't even realize they're being insulted, or later they're like, oh, that person insulted me. So Mercury in Virgo can be critical, but they're often very cautious about how they say it. On the bright side, though, they're very good diplomats in that they're very cautious about how they say things and what they say to whom. So they're very good at keeping secrets. But it's something like, you know, like anything with any sign, there's good and bad. We all have our challenges. All right, Venus in Virgo is discrimination. Now, I don't think of this in the negative sense of discrimination. I think of this as they are discriminating about who they place their affections on. You have to measure up to them. If you have Venus in Virgo is usually known for having very classic taste, unlike Venus in Leo, which is very flamboyant. Venus in Virgo is classic. They like to be classy about things. And they have very particular tastes when it comes to romance and to aesthetics and to art. And that doesn't mean that all Virgos have the same taste, but they consider their taste to be classic and understated, and they're very elegant and refined. Mars in Virgo is criticism. I have Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo can be very critical. Here we have the pointing finger, the eye over the flowers. And so that's kind of one of the more challenging things about Virgo, especially Mars in Virgo, is that it can be quite critical. It can point things out, and not just critical of others, but critical of the self as well. And that can be something that Virgos really struggle with, is perfectionism, because as much as they may sometimes criticize others, they criticize themselves even more. They can be very pointing the finger at themselves, where they're like, you're not good enough and you don't measure up. And so that is something that a lot of people with Virgo or Mars and Virgo have to work on, is that self-criticalness and that sense of being like a perfectionist, where it does hurt the person. Now, this can be good in that they're not easily taken advantage of, and they spot things often before other people spot them. They spot the red flags, so that can help as well. But like everything, everything's got a challenge, right? Jupiter in Virgo is patience. And that's the other thing that Virgos are known for, is their patience. Again, they're in it for the long haul. They're not in it for a quick fix. They're very, very patient, especially with others. Not always, I would say, with themselves, but with others. And especially if they're working on something for a long time, they can really, focus on the details and work on the project for the long haul. So patience is one of their strengths. Saturn in Virgo is isolation. So sometimes that sense of perfectionism, that need for order, can lead to becoming isolated. Saturn in Virgo often shows someone who has been maybe isolated as a child, or somebody that struggled with, feeling lonely or kind of being an outcast. And that often leads them to not trust others, so that it's very hard for them to reach out when they're older. They don't always trust everyone, and they have certain standards that they have of perfectionism, which lead them to kind of isolate themselves a little bit, because they don't feel either the others measure up, or so often they feel they don't measure up to others. So that is one of their challenges for sure. So Virgo is a sign that I think is a little bit misunderstood by a lot of people. I think that Virgos have the gift definitely of being very analytical. They can really reason things out very well. They are very detail oriented. When you're working on a big project, you want a Virgo on your side, because they spot the little details, and they're committed. Once they're committed to something, they're committed for the long haul, and they're gonna do a great job on things. They are definitely committed to doing to working towards a cause of some kind, something bigger than themselves. So you want a Virgo on your side, that's for sure. The world needs Virgos. So if you have any other thoughts about Virgo, if you're a Virgo, if you're a Virgo moon, Virgo Venus or whatever, put in the comments below, put what you think of Virgo. Let us know. Like and subscribe as always. Thank you so much for watching this, for enjoying the Astro Basics series. As always, peace, love, rock and roll.